When we install Server 2016, so we have three options. We have option to go with the desktop experience, which is graphical, and also we have option to go with core server, that is command line version. But in 2016 server, we actually have the new option. We have an option to install Windows Server as a nano server. Now, what is nano server? Nano server is ideal for use in the following scenario. For compute host for Hyper-V virtual machines, either in cluster or not. We can use nano server for storage host, as a storage host for a scale out file server, either in cluster or not. We can use nano server as a DNS server. We can use nano server as a web server running IIS services. We can use the nano server as a host for apps that are developed by using the cloud application patterns and run in a container or virtual machines. So this nano server is used for these different scenarios and these different things, or for these reasons we can use the nano server. But what is nano server? Nano server is actually the thinnest version of Windows Server 2016. Thinnest version, that means what? It will put a very less load on hardware. That means it does not have any graphical interface, even it does not have any command line interface also. We can only manage this nano server from remote location. We cannot manage the nano server directly locally. We cannot manage it directly on the server. We have to manage the nano server from remote location from other server, because it does not have any GUI or any CLI interface to manage the server. Now, overview of installing the nano server. So first, how we install the nano server. So setup files for the nano server is under the nano server folder on installation media. That means if we want to install the nano server, so all the setup file required to install the nano server is available under the nano server directory in this installation media. That means when we have a server installation media, DVD or CD, in that we have a folder called nano server. And in that nano server folder we have all the options required to install the nano server. Now, can deploy this nano server can deploy as a VHD on a Hyper-V host. That means we can install, or we can use this nano server, we can deploy the nano server as a VHD in the VHD, that means virtual hard disk of Hyper-V on Hyper-V, that means for a virtual machine. Then we can use VHD bootable drive on a physical computer also. That means we can create the virtual disk in the Hyper-V of nano server, and then we can use that virtual hard disk to boot from the real physical machine also. Then we can use the .vim file on a physical computer. Now .vim file is the installation file for the operating system. In Windows installation operating system, now a Windows doing what? It is giving one file which is called Vim. It is called Windows Install Manager. And in that file, all the installation files, all the installation file for installing the Windows Server operating system are installed into this file or kept into this file. So we can create this file also for the nano server, and we can install the nano server of physical server. Now first we have to create an image using Windows PowerShell. So if we want to use it as a virtual machine, as a virtual hard disk, so first we have to create that virtual hard disk and virtual image or virtual hard disk image by using the PowerShell. Then we can deploy this on virtual machine. Okay. Now this is our nano server interface, managing this and configuring the nano server. So if you see, when we install the nano server, it will look like this. This is the interface of nano server we have, and in this we can see there is no option we have to go for the command line. There is no option we have to go for the graphical interface. We have only the interface like this, And here we can only manage what? We can manage networking. That means we can configure the IP addresses so that we can connect the nano server from remotely. We can manage the remote management settings. We can reset the remote management setting only. Then we have an option to manage the firewall only. So we have only these two options or three options, we can say, that we can manage it from the nano server. We have option to manage network and networking, that means IP addresses, and also we have option to manage the firewall. Rest of the thing or everything will be managed from the remote machine. So for connecting the nano server from the remote machine or remote server, first we have to configure the IP address. That is the first requirement. So that is we can configure directly on nano server. And also to access the nano server, firewall must be configured properly. So this is the firewall configuration is also available in the nano server directly. And other than this, nothing is available here and you can't do anything. Everything we have to manage it from remote location, remote server. Now when we compare server core with nano server and also a full installation, so factors to consider when comparing nano server, core server and server with desktop experience. First, ease of installation, like how easy we have to install, how easy it is to install. Then ease of local and remote management. Then hardware resources requirements, current application requirements, frequency and patches, updates and uptime requirements, security requirements, attack surface, role features required now and the possible need to update them later. These are the things which we should consider before going for this different editions, different versions of server. Like we want to go for the desktop experience, we want to go for the core experience, or we want to go for the nano server. That means first, ease of installation, like which one is easy for you for installation, which one is easy. That means is it easy for you to install the desktop experience, or is it easy for you to install the core version or nano version. Now easy of local and remote management, that means which one you feel that it is easy for managing locally or remotely. As we see, when we have a graphical interface, we can manage it locally easily. And core servers and nano servers, core server basically we can manage locally, but we don't have we have to run the commands for it, so it is also a little difficult for managing locally. And nano server is not available, it is not available local interface, we have to manage it remotely, so there is no option to manage it locally. So we have to consider that what we want to manage our server locally or remotely, and based on that we can go for installation. So when we talk about management, so it is easy when we have GUI interface, whether you wanted to manage it locally or remotely. But it is not easy when we have core command line environment or nano server. But why we use this? Because the hardware resources requirement. Why we use core server or nano server? Because it is less requirement of hardware, and also it is based on the current application requirement. That means what application we want to install on that server. So based on that we can decide that we will use core server or nano server or server with GUI, graphical interface. Now, and in the GUI interface, you can see that all the applications will be available. Every application will be installed. But for the core or nano server, it will not install all the applications. So we have to make sure that the application is supported for this. But these two operating systems, these two versions, these two core or nano server are very less hardware requirement. It is very thin servers. Core server is having some interfaces, so it is using some resources, but nano server will not use any resources. So it will be very good for the application. For example, if suppose we want to install DNS server in that Windows Server 2016, I want to configure it as a DNS server, and I want that server to do only the DNS job, nothing else. But because if it is a graphical interface, it can do it can use the resources for managing the graphical interface also. So it will use the resources to manage the graphical interface also. But when we have a core version where there is no graphical available, so it can use the whole resources. It can use the whole resources for only managing the DNS server, which is we want. And even Nano server is better than the core server because Nano server does not have any interface. Core server even have some interface to manage, but Nano server does not have any interface. So it is the lightest version of Windows Server 2016, and it will not put any load on hardware for itself. Whatever the load it will put on hardware, it only for the services or application it will run. Then frequency of patches, updates and uptime requirements are there. Like this is for the all thing, like for desktop experience, for server core or nano, whether we are installing any, we need to make sure that the patches are available frequently, updates are available frequently, and what is the uptime for the server, like how many time we want to run the server, or how much time, like how much uptime we have. Then security requirements are there, and attack surface also. GUI is not that secure, but command versions, or even we can say Nano server is we can say somehow it is secured because it does not have any graphical interface, so nobody can do anything graphically. Then other security features are also available. Then roles features required now and the possible need to update them later. Now roles and feature, that means again it is the services and features of that services, what the servers do. So this is called roles, and the features related to that role. So what is the roles and services, like for example DNS role, DHCP role, Active Directory role. So what roles we want to do, we want the server to do. We want the server to do, we have to make sure, we have to decide that which version is good for us and what roles we need to be updated on, possible in them later also. So these are the things we have to require before going for these different things, different additions, different versions like desktop version, core version or nano version. Now let's see how we can install this nano version. For installing the nano server, first what we will do, all the required files are under the installation DVD. So we will go for the installation DVD, and in that installation DVD we have a folder called nano server. So we will copy the folder from the DVD and we will copy it into our different drive. And before doing this, what I am going to do is I am going to install this nano server under the virtual machine. I will create the virtual disk for it, for the nano server of nano server, and then I will use that virtual disk to install or create the virtual machine for the nano server. Now for installing it on Hyper-V, first we have to install Hyper-V in our server. And because I'm using Hyper-V, I'm using virtual machine for doing the practice. For these practicals I'm using the virtual machine of VMware. So virtual machine is itself a virtual machine, and if we want to install more virtual machine in the virtual machine, then we have to enable some feature in the VMware setting. So this is our virtual machine where this is our machine here in VMware where we want to install our nano server. So in this virtual machine I want to create a new again a virtual machine in this virtual machine for a nano server. So for this in VMware, what we have to do, we have to change some settings. First I will do what? I will go to the editing of this virtual machine, and I will increase the RAM so that it will support good. Then go to processor and enable these virtualization options. These options are for virtualizing the this CPU, this processor of this VMware virtual machine. So after enabling this virtual machine will support virtualization. Now what? in the options, okay, I will go with this. I'll say okay. And then I will start the machine. So first, what we will do here, we will configure the role here. We will configure Hyper-V in our server, and then in that Hyper-V, we are going to install the Nano server. It is starting. Okay, now this Windows server is running. Now first, I want to install here Hyper-V. Okay, so I am going to install Hyper-V role here. Now here in Windows servers, previously what happens in 2000, Windows Server 2003, every services we installed here in Windows Server are just like a services. All of the services are services. Now what is the problem then in that time? When we install some services, for example, when we install the web services. So what happened with the web services, some default services will also come. Some default services are also coming which administrators don't know about it. So sometime what happened, some extra services or some extra features also installed. Like suppose we are installing the web server, web services in the server, like we want to make this server as a web server. So with that web services role or web services, some extra features will also was also coming without the knowledge of administrator, and that can make a problem, because if suppose the hacker knows about it, hackers knows about the default things. That means if suppose hacker knows that whenever somebody install the web services in Windows server, it also install these extra features with it. Now if the administrator don't know about it, that this feature is also installed without my knowledge, that means it is not configured by the administrator, and that feature will remain in default, and in default that means no security. So attackers try to use or try to hack those features of the services. For whatever services we install, we install web services, we install DNS services, DHCP, Active Directory, whatever. So every services with some default features already always comes. It was happening in previous versions of Windows Server 2003. It was happening in Windows Server 2003. Now Microsoft did what? After 2003 server, they released Windows 2008, and they changed the interface. They changed it completely. They did what? They divide these every features into two things: roles and features. So every services are divided into two things: roles and features. Roles, that means the roles the server do. For example, if we configure DNS services, that means the server is going to do the DNS role. It is going to do the role for the DNS services. If we install the web services, that means the server is going to do the role of web server. If we install the DHCP services, that means the server is going to do the role for DHCP. So roles are these services. Roles are the things that which this server is going to do, and then with those roles, or we can say the feature services, some features comes. So it is divided now. So when you install the roles, so you will only install the roles, and features you have option that you can install it or not install it. So whenever you install any services here, so basically you are installing the roles. So when you go to here manage, and click, you will see the option to add roles and features here. It is not saying that add services here. It is saying that add roles and features. So roles are the services and features are the features of those roles, those features which is optional. Now it is going to install the features which is actually required by the services or by the role. For example, if I install the DNS services, so if I install the DNS role, so whatever the default requirement for that role, whatever the feature is default requirement, it will install automatically. It will install those features, but it will notify the administrator that I'm going to install these extra features, and also it will give the option to install extra features also. So first it will show that these default features are going to be installed. It will show the notification, and if suppose some services, some roles are like, if you don't install those features, it will not work. So some default features are default that we have to install with this role, and some of the optional features are there. So optional features we can install wherever we want, whenever we want. It will not install automatically. It will only install those features which is required by default for this role or for these services. And also it will notify the administrator when it is installing the role. It will notify that I'm going to install these features also. So by this, administrators knows that what roles we are installing, what services we are installing, and what extra features we are installing with it. So it is not like administrator don't know what is happening. So it will not go by default configuration, or it will not install what features, the features which is not required. So it will install only the features with the services that is required, and also it will be configured by the administrator, because administrator knows about it that these features are also installed. So there is no option for hacker to use those services, those features to hack these server. Right now I want to have a Hyper-V services, Hyper-V. So I will install the roles here, Hyper-V role. Hyper-V is a role. That means this virtual machine will act as a Hyper-V host, where it can host different virtual machines. So this is a role. Hyper-V is actually a role for this server. So I will install Hyper-V role here for hosting Nano server as a virtual machine. So for installing the Hyper-V role, I will go for here, manage, and I will select add and remove roles. Add roles and features. In Windows 10 also we have Hyper-V client version as a feature. So if we want to have this Hyper-V client in Windows 10, we add that as a feature, but here in the server it is added as a role. So I will select add roles and feature here. It opens this wizard. Now when it opens this wizard, first it says before you begin. Before you begin, that means it shows that what you should do before installing any roles or features. So you should read this, what it is saying here, because it is important. It is saying the administrator account has a strong password. That means before going for any role or feature, we have to make sure the administrator account has a strong password. A strong password that is not simple. Then network settings such as static IP address, IP addresses are configured. Anywhere whenever you configure any server, any services on those servers or roles, we have to make sure that the servers must have static IP addresses. We can't configure the servers on dynamic IP addresses. Dynamic IP addresses, that means it is coming, the IP addresses are coming from DHCP server, and these are dynamic IP addresses configured by the DHCP server can change after some time. So we can't afford changing the server's IP address, because when we give some IP address to the server, all the clients will try to connect the server by using that IP address. So we should not change the IP address of the server every time, and for that we should use the static IP address for the server. Then the third is the most current security updates from Windows Update are installed. When we have to make sure that current security updates are already installed in our server. We have to make sure the server is already always updated with the latest updates. Otherwise, we will have some vulnerabilities. And with the vulnerabilities, our servers can be exploited. So we have to make sure that we have the updated server. So these are the things we have to consider before going for any role or feature installation. And also it is giving option here that if you want to remove any role or feature, then you should select here. That option is also available under the manage. We have this option here available, or we can start from here also. Now once you have read it this before you begin option, before you begin, and now you don't want to read it anytime, every time, because remember, whenever you try to install any role or feature, this wizard will open and always it will show you this before you begin. Now if you don't want to see this every time because you have read it once, you can select this option to skip this. So skip this page by default. So whenever you start the installation for any roles and feature, it will not show this page again and again. So once you read it this, you can skip this. Then you will say next. Now here it is saying now here it is asking about the installation type. Installation type, that means you want to install role based and feature based installation. Now that means you want to install role or features. This is configure a single server by adding roles or services and features. So if you want to go for role based and feature based installation, we will select this. What is it saying here? That select the installation type. You can install roles and feature on a running physical computer or virtual machine, or on an offline virtual hard disk. So if you have a virtual hard disk or virtual machine, you can use the server manager to install the roles and feature into that also. Now it is asking what type of installation you want. You want role based or feature based. So basically we always use this role based and feature based installation to install the roles or features. Roles as a services or features for that the features of that services. Now there is one more option. It is called remote desktop services installation. Now this installation required role services for virtual desktop infrastructure. It is called VDI environment. VDI environment is it is a different environment which is different than the normal environment we are using. In this VDI environment, it is using remote desktop features. Remote desktop feature, that means it is actually we say based on thin client environment. Now what is thin client environment? In the thin client environment, we have a fat server and thin clients. That means, now thin client means actually we have one server. It is fat server. Fat server, that means the server is very heavy. It is full with the hardware, large amount of hardware, like 64 GB RAM, 4 TB of 64 processors, 4 TB of RAM, full of these hardware. Now we have a clients here. These are the client machines here. Now normal environment, what we have a server here and we have a client here. Now on the client machine also we have everything. That means we have RAM, we have processor, we have a hard disk and everything else. We have monitor, keyboard, mouse, and these servers have option to connect to the network. So these clients, so we will connect this client to the network and server will also connect to the client. Now what servers do? Server only do what? Only do the management part. Management part, that means when server wants to log into the environment, so the authentication done on the server. When the client wants to access any application, then the application access will be provided by the server. Everything will be centralized, but the processing part will be handled by the client itself. Now processing part, that means when the application is given to the server, given to the client, so application will run on this server, the client itself. It will use its own processor, it will use its own RAM, it will use its own hard disk also. This is the normal environment. Now in the thin client environment, what happened? We have a fat server. Fat server, that means everything will be there, and the RAM, hard disk, processor and applications, everything will be installed here in the server, everything whatever the user needs. And on the client side we have only the monitor where client will see, and the monitor, and then we have a small thin client device. It is a thin client device which has option to connect the monitor, then it has option to connect the keyboard, then it has option to connect the mouse, and also then it has an option to connect it to network. So all the clients does not have what? No RAM, no processor, no hard disk, no motherboard, nothing. They don't have anything else. They don't have anything on the client side, and they are connected to the server through the network. Now what? Whenever client wants to use this client machine, so when it start this machine, so it will do what? It will log into the server through remote desktop services. So when you start this machine here, it is called thin client. Why it is called thin client? Because it does not have any hardware, it does not have hard disk, does not have processor, RAM, anything. It is only have an option to manage the server, manage the client, only monitor, keyboard, RAM and the device to connect it to network. So it will, whenever you start this device, it will do what? It will log into the server through the remote desktop services. Through the remote desktop services it will log into the server, and then it will see the authentication page which is coming from the server. It will authenticate to the server, that means authentication is done on server. Then when it is wanted to access any application, so those applications are also installed on the server itself. So application interface will be given to this client here in this monitor, but actually the processing will happen on the server. So whatever the client we will do on the client side, everything will be done on server. On the client side we don't have anything, we don't do anything on the client side. All the processing, all the management, everything will be done on the server, and for that the server must be powerful, and the client is not a powerful machine, it is a thin client. What is the benefit here? Everything is centralized here. In this normal environment, only the authentication and validation part is centralized. Authentication, authorization part is centralized, but everything else will be done on the local basis, like on the client. Every processing will be done on the client. Now for this we need a hardware in the client machine, so we need to manage the hardware also, and it can be expensive also. We have to manage it sometime. Hard disk will go down, processor goes down, RAM goes down. We have to manage everything in every client here. But in a thin client environment, we just need a server which can handle all these requests, all these server, all these clients, all these thin clients. And in the client side we don't have any hardware requirement. We have only RAM, we have monitor, keyboard, mouse and the device to connect. We don't need anything to manage here, so it will be cheaper than this normal environment. So that installation which is called VDI is the Microsoft thin client implementation, we can say. It is a type of thin client implementation where the clients are not there, which is having every device here hardware. They are having no hardware here, they are having VDI devices, and through these VDI devices they will logged in to the server remotely, and whatever they want to do, they will do it in the client side. They will see that they are doing here, but everything is processing on the server. So if we want to install the roles or feature in that environment, then we will select that second option. So we select this second option only when we have that environment here. So if we have the environment of VDI desktop infrastructure to create a virtual machine based or session based desktop deployment, then we will select this type of installation. It is saying here remote desktop services installation, but we don't have that. Mostly we don't have, so we will go always with this role based and feature based installation. Now we'll go to next. Now here it is saying that which server you want to install. Now remember, I told you that in the server manager we can connect multiple servers to manage. So for installing the services or for installing these roles and features, we can only do it from the server manager. So we can do that. We can also do it from the PowerShell, but we can do this only when we connect to that remote server. So we have option here to add multiple servers here. Even we can create a group of servers also. So if we add multiple servers in this server manager for managing it centralizedly, so all those servers name we will see here one by one line for one server. We will see the name of the server, we will see the IP address of the server, we will see the operating system of the server. And then from here, if we want to install any roles and feature on that particular server, then we can select that server here, and then the roles and features we will install, it will install to that server. So if we have multiple servers connected to this server manager, all those servers name we will see here, and here we can decide that we want to install the role or feature on which server. So we can select that server here and we can install it. Then we have option here. We are seeing only one server here because we have only one server connected, that is this local server. We don't have any remote server connected. Then we also have one option here, is called select a virtual hard disk. If you select this, then it will tell you about, it will give you the option to select the virtual hard disk. Now virtual hard disks are for the virtual machines. This .vhd files are for virtual machines. So if we create a virtual machine, so with that virtual machine we create the virtual disk also. Like a real machine we have the real hard disk, in virtual machine we have the virtual hard disk. So if we have already some virtual hard disk for the virtual machine and we want to install some roles and feature into that virtual hard disk which is used for some virtual machine, but right now it is offline. Remember, it is only work for offline virtual hard disk. Offline virtual hard disk, that means it is not connected to any virtual machine. So if the hard disk is not connected to any virtual machine, then we can install any role or feature into that also. So if we have virtual machines and virtual disk, so we can use this server manager to install role or feature into that virtual hard disk, but only the condition is that that hard disk must be offline. And then after installing the role and feature, we can connect the hard disk back to the virtual machine and we can see the role and feature. So here it is giving me option to browse, and for browsing we can select the virtual disk wherever it is. It is either you can select VHD, .vhd or .vhdx format. These virtual hard disk formats are VHD, .vhd or VHDX. .vhd is the old version and .vhdx is the new version. It supports both, but I don't have any, so I will go with always this selecting by server, directly installing the server on the running server. Right now we have this only local server, so I will install the services on this local server. Now next, now here it says roles. So these are the roles we have for these servers. So we have roles like DNS server here, DSCP server here, we have web server role here, we have Hyper-V role also. So here we have to select the roles. Now for example, I don't want to install the role is already installed, I just want to install some extra features. So I will go next without selecting anything here. And in the next window we see the features, and these are the all features we have which is related to some of the roles, or some of the features are separated, some of the features are independent. that is not relying on any role. For example, this failover clustering. For this feature, we don't need any role. This thing is as a feature. It is as a feature. It does not require any role for it. It is itself a feature. So just like that, we have others also, and we can use that features. Now without selecting any, we can't go next. Without selecting any role or feature, we can't go next because we are nothing to install. And it is showing some of the features are already installed and some of the roles are already installed. So there is a file and storage role already installed. So whenever we install this server, this file and storage services role will always be installed. Now what we need now is Hyper-V or any other role. Suppose when I select any role, for example, I will select web services. When I click on it, it will show me the detailed information description here that what this role is going to do. Web server is IIS, where provides a reliable management and scalable web application infrastructure. If I select this, it gives me the description about this. If I select this, it gives me the description about this. So when you select any roles or here, it will give you the description about it. And for features also. So if you go to features and you select some feature, it will show the information about that feature also. Now next, if suppose you select some feature to install, some role to install. So when I select this web services role, I don't want to install it. But when I select it, so as I said, it show me this features window here. It says that these features are going to be installed with this role. It says add the features, and it is saying include management tools if applicable also. That means it is going to install these features which is default required for this role. Now without these features, we are not able to manage this role, or we are not able to run this role. So these are the required roles. We need it. Without it, it will not work. And some features may need some management tools. So it is also selected that if some feature required to have a management tool, separate management tool, then it will also install that. Now if I don't add this, it is saying add the features, add these features which is selected. If I say no, I don't want to install this feature, I press cancel here. You see it is not selecting the role. Those features are compulsory. Those are which we have to install, otherwise we are not able to install this role. So those features are required. If I select any role here, it will give me option. Now this role does not require any feature, so it is not giving me. So if any feature requires something, it will always give you that. So whenever you select, it says you have to install these extra features with it. Without these features, it is not going to install this role. If I select cancel, you see it is not selecting the role. Now I want to install Hyper-V, so I will select Hyper-V here. And it is, you can see here, it is saying that these features must be installed. So without it, the Hyper-V will not be able to install. So I will select this, I want to install this, and now you can see it is now selected. So by doing this, administrator will know that what role I am installing and what features with this role is going to be installed. So it is not like administrator will say that I don't know that this feature was there and somebody has hacked that feature. So administrator now knows everything, that what role it is installing and what features it is installing. Now we'll go to next. Now whatever the feature it is needed, it is already selected here. It is already selected. Now what we want to install extra, so we can select the extra features also from here. Now here administrator knows that what features, extra features, optional features it is installing. So it knows everything what it is doing. I don't need any extra feature or optional feature. I just need Hyper-V. So I select Hyper-V. I go next. And now when I select the role or feature, it will give me the description about it, what this role is going to do and what you need to do before doing or before installing this. It says before you install this role, you should identify which network connections on this server you want to use for setting up virtual switches, and after you install Hyper-V, you can use Hyper-V Manager to create and configure your virtual machines. So this is what about the Hyper-V settings. So I say okay, I know what switch I am going to use, external, internal, whatever, and I know that I have Hyper-V Manager which is going to use for managing this Hyper-V virtual machine. So I say okay, next. Now it is asking about the network adapter which is going to use for the virtual switch for the virtual machine. So if you want to use this, then you can select this. So I will select this. This is my only adapter I have in this server. So I am selecting this adapter for the virtual switch of virtual machine, and it is going to create the external switch. So I will go with this. Now this option is for migrating the virtual machine from one server to other server, or it is for the migration virtual machine. Like if suppose the virtual machine is running on this server and I want to move this virtual machine to other server, that means I am doing what? Migration. So this option is to allow these servers to migrate, allow the virtual machines to migrate. And when I select this, it says that what type of authentication you want. Like when the server virtual machine will be moved from one Hyper-V machine to other Hyper-V machine, it must be moved securely. The data must go from one server to other server securely, and for that it is using what? Authentication protocol. We can use this protocol or we can use this normal Kerberos protocol. But right now I don't want. I can enable this in a later. So I don't want right now. I will go with normal. I can configure that option after installation also. Now this is the option to say that where you want to keep your virtual hard disk for this virtual machines, and where you want to keep your Hyper-V configurations. Now by default it is going under the C drive, So I will change the location because I want to use this virtual hard disk for the nano server. So I will change the location for it. I will create new folder here. This will be for my VMs, and under that VMs I will create new folder for VHD. This is for VHDs. So this is for VHD. Then for Hyper-V configuration files, I will keep it into the same VM, and in this directory I will create new folder for virtual machines configurations. So my hard disk will go into this directory, virtual hard disk, and my virtual machine configuration will go to this directory. Now it is giving me the summary. It is giving me summary that what I have selected. I have selected this role, and with this role these features are also going to be installed. Now what we have here is the option to select the restart destination server automatically if required. Now some features, some roles required to restart the server. Now if you don't want to restart it manually, suppose you are installing the feature or role on the remote server, and remote server is far from you, like it is from different location, and you are not there to reboot the server. So what, you can select this option to reboot the server automatically. But when you select this option, it shows you this window. It says that if a restart is required, this server restarts automatically without additional notification. Do you want to allow the automatic restart? Now why it is saying that? Because if maybe this server which is you are selecting this option, maybe the server is remote server, and remote server, that means in the different location, and you don't know, maybe somebody is working on that server at that time or this time, and it will do what, it will automatically restart without any notification. So if suppose somebody is working on that server, then it will be difficult for that person. That person will get confused that why this server is restarted. So without any notice, and maybe if the other person is doing something on the server, so if it is not saved, so those things which is not saved, it will removed. So you have to be careful when you select the auto restart option. Now because we are doing it only, we are installing it for the local, on the local server, so we know what we are doing. So I can go for automatic, and here what we have, these options here, we have option here, export the configuration setting. Now this option, if I select this, it will show me that we can save the file, the configuration, as a file, as a XML file, and we can name it here deployment config template. We can name also, like I am deploying what, deployment Hyper-V. I will show you what this file do. I will save it on desktop. Now what this file is doing, actually, this is the file. This is the file. When you open the file, now you see this is an XML file for installing this, configuring this server with Hyper-V role. So whatever the setting we have selected for this Hyper-V installation, all these settings I have entered into this XML script. Now what to do with this script? So basically what we can do with this script is that we can do automated installation. We don't have to select. Suppose I want to install some this same feature, same role in some other server, but I don't want to do this automatically. So I want to do it from command line, and I want to install the same features and roles on that remote server. So I can use that script which I have saved. When you hover the mouse here, it shows this uses in Windows PowerShell. So this file, this XML file, actually I can use it on Windows PowerShell to install the same features or role in other server. And it is showing me the command also. It is showing me the PowerShell command, install Windows features, with the configuration path option, and then the exported XML file. So I can install it into the remote server by using the Windows PowerShell and this script. So I can run the command install Windows feature with the option configuration file path, and then I will mention the path for this configuration file, and it will do what, it will install the same role and features into that server. Then there is one more option, it is called the specify an alternate source path. Sometime, mostly all the services and roles are already installed in the server. We don't require the installation media, like the DVD which we have used to install. We don't require it now. It is already installed. It is just like enabling or disabling it. But sometimes some features or some roles are not here, not available directly on the server. So we have to get it, or we have to download it from the installation DVD. So in that case, it will give us the warning here that some of the features are not available in this, and for the some of the feature you have to get it from the installation DVD, and for that you have to mention the alternate source path. That is actually under the DVD installation media, you have a sources folder, and under the sources folder you have SXX folder, and in that folder you have .vim file, install.vim file, and in that file you have all the other extra features available. Sometimes you need to select that path, and you have to select the DVD path so that you can install some feature. Now this one does not require, so it is not giving me any option, and I can install it. Now it is going to install, and if it is required, so it will reboot automatically also, and it will reboot because we are installing the Hyper-V role, so it is going to reboot. So this is how we can manage roles, or we can install roles or features in our Windows Server 2016. Now why we are installing this Hyper-V? Because we want to install the Nano server in this Hyper-V as a virtual machine. So for that I am installing the Hyper-V, and in that Hyper-V I am going to create a virtual machine, and in that virtual machine I am going to install the Nano server. Now it will take a little time, let it go. And now it is restarting up automatically, updating settings. It restarts 2 times actually, so it is the second time it restarts. Now it is going to start. Okay, now it is started. And it is starting. We have to wait for it. It is coming now. We have to wait for it to finish it. So server manager will come and it will say that the installation is finished. So we can say that installation is finished, and it is coming now. We have to wait. So this wizard is come back and it is still saying, and it is saying that the installation is about to finish. Now it is saying the installation succeeded, and you can see the wizard is completed. Now what we can do, we can close it. So now the installation is done, and we can see here now Hyper-V option available. When you select this Hyper-V role, so it shows that the role is installed on this server, and if you go down you can see the events related to only this role, and then when you go down you can see the services related to this role. So it will be easy for administrator to see the events and manage the services also. Now to manage this Hyper-V, we have Hyper-V manager, and all those consoles, management consoles, are available under the tool. So you can select the tool and we can see this Hyper-V manager here. And in the Hyper-V manager we can see our server here, and in this server we can create new machines. Now right now first I will create the virtual disk for the Nano server, and then I will create the virtual machine. So I will not do it anything here. And one more thing, if you see here, the IP address is gone here. We have configured the IP address, but now it is not showing here. Why? Because when you configure the Hyper-V role in the server, it takes over the real interface. I will show you this. When I click here, it will create a new virtual interface here. If you see, this was our physical interface, and now it has created new virtual interface. Now when you check the real interface, physical interface, you go for details, you see no details here, because all the settings for this real interface is now gone into this virtual interface, and this virtual interface is by default on DHCP. So it is again gone back to DHCP and removed our manual IP addresses. So after installing the role, you have to make sure that your IP addresses are correct. So I will fix it again. This was my IP address configured to this server, and now I did configure this into this virtual interface. Now we can see the IP address is also there. Now what we want to do, we want to install our nano server here in this virtual machine. So what I will do, I will go first to the C drive, to this installation DVD. This is our installation DVD for Windows Server. So I will open this first. Now when I open, I can see this nano server folder here. So what I will do, I will copy this nano server folder in the C drive. Now under this nano server we have all the options, all the configuration files to configure the nano server image. So for configuring the nano server image we have all the files required here. So what we have here, we have nano server image generator, we have packages, we have nano server Vim file, and also we have a readme file. Readme file, if you check, you have option saying, it is saying that for detailed information for the deployment of nano server, please go to this link and you will see the detailed information and help. Now what I want to configure the image for the nano server virtual machine. So first what I will do here, this is the steps. So first I created new folder, or even I just copy the folder to the C drive, nano server folder. Now what I will do, I will go to PowerShell and import the module for the nano server. Now importing the module in PowerShell, that means importing the commands. In the PowerShell, by default we don't have all the commands available. So if suppose we want to run some nano server related commands, so first we have to import the module for that command. And for importing the module, we have a command import module in PowerShell. So we will give import module command with the name option, and then we will mention the module which is under the nano server directory. In this nano server image generator directory, we have nano server image generator .psm1, that means PowerShell module. So we will use this module, we will import this module in our PowerShell for running the nano server commands. So first job is to import the module. So module is under this directory. Under this directory we have this PowerShell modules, nano server image generator. We have this module available here. So what we will do, we will open the PowerShell. I will run, right click, and I will run as administrator. I will increase the font a little bit. It's too much. Okay. Now what I will do, I will run command import module and name for the module. I will mention under the C drive there is a folder called nano server. Under the nano server folder I have nano server image generator folder, and under that I have nano server image generator module file. Remember the extension is PowerShell module, PSM. It is not PSD. This is PSM1. This is the module file, and then I will press enter, and it has been imported. The module is imported here. Now what next I will do, after importing the module, the next thing is to run the function to create the image and place in Hyper-V folder. So now we are going to create the virtual hard disk with these options with the help of this PowerShell nano image generator module. So we will run this to create or generate the virtual disk, and for that the command we will use is new nano server image command. This command is available because of the module we have imported. So we will use the new nano server image command with the option of media path. Now media path, that means the D, that means the directory, that means the path where we are having the DVD, our DVD installation DVD. So it is going to download, it is going to get all the other files related to the operating system will be from that installation media, that is under the D drive. Now it is depending on your machine whether it is D drive or E drive or F drive. So wherever your installation DVD is there, you will mention that path here as a media path. Then deployment type. Now deployment type, we are making this as a guest machine. Guest machine, that means we are going to configure it as a guest operating system. We are not going to use this virtual hard disk to boot from the real machine. We are going to use it as a virtual disk, virtual hard disk, a virtual machine. So we will mention the deployment type as a guest. Then for the edition, now edition, we have standard edition, we have data center edition. So it depends on us like which edition we want to install. We want standard edition, we want data center edition. So based on that, we can select the edition here. Then the next option is the target path. Target path, that means where we want to create this virtual hard disk. So here you will mention the path where we are creating or we are storing the virtual disk of virtual machines of Hyper-V, and then we will mention the name for our nano servers virtual disk. You can mention any name, nano 2 or nano 1, whatever, .vhdx. Then we will mention the computer name for our nano server. Now computer name, that means what we do in core server or graphical server, we mention the name after installation. For the name of the server, we can mention it directly here, nano server, whatever the name you want, you can mention. Then you can install the packages also. Installing the packages, that means the roles. For example, I am going to install the Microsoft Nano Server IIS package, so that I can use this nano server as a web server. So I am going to install this package, and these packages are available under the package directory. Then what I will do, I will mention the administrator password, get credential dot password. Now this command will do what? It will configure the password for the administrator user of nano server. Remember, it is going to be the password of the nano server administrator. So whatever the password you will give here, you have to remember the password. Let's run this command first. So new nano server image media path. Now media path, that means the path of our hard disk. Our hard disk, that means my hard disk is under the D drive. So I'm going to mention the D drive. It depends on your system what path you are having. So I am having the D drive, so I will mention the D drive. Then the next option is to mention the deployment type. Now deployment type, we have option to mention the guest or host. Now guest means as a virtual machine, host means as a physical machine. So if we want to use this virtual disk VHD file as a host machine like a real machine, we want to boot the real machine from it, so we can select host. Or we want to mention the virtual machine, we want to create a virtual machine from it, so we will select the guest. I want to create a virtual machine as a nano server, so I will select guest here. Then for addition, we have data center or standard. Now it depends on us what addition we want, data center or standard. So I will go for standard here. Then next option is target path. Now target path, that means where you want to create this virtual disk. So target path will be, in my case, I have created a separate path for virtual disk. If you remember, I have created a path here under the C drive, VMs and VHDs. So I'm going to create my virtual disk here. So I'm mentioning the path here under the C drive, VMs, and under that VHDs. And here I will mention the name for my nano server's hard disk, virtual hard disk. Let's say nano or nano 1 dot VHDX. Now next option is for package. Now package is depending on what package you want to install. So packages are under the location nano server under the packages path. Now here we have different packages. We have Microsoft Nano Server Compute package, container package, DCB, these DNS. It depends what we want to create. I want to install this Microsoft Nano Server IIS package. Now the command is big and it is not fitting into this screen. So I will decrease font size so that it can fit into it. Okay, it is still not fitting into it, so I will decrease more. Okay, I will decrease a little more. Okay, now the command is fitting here. So we can see the command is starting from here: nano server image, media path, deployment type, addition, target path where we want to create the virtual disk, then the package which we want to install, and the location of the package. It is under C nano server packages directory, and under that we have these all packages. You don't have to give the whole path manually. You just have to press the tab, give the initial path and press tab. It will complete automatically. So I want to install the IIS role into this. Then I will mention the administrator's password. Now administrator's password, for administrator's password, what I will do here, I will use, for administrator's password, I will use this command here, this option here. It says get credential dot password. So it is going to get the credential from myself. Like when I press enter, so it will do what? It will try to get the credential. Like it will ask me that provide the password, and this window, this password, it will show me that provide password. This is the text and this is the option to get the credential. So it will get the credential from me when I press enter. Otherwise you can type the password here, but this is the good option. Make sure that what we are typing. Let's see this. So what I will do here, I will say get credential. This is a scripting way of mentioning the password in PowerShell. PowerShell is a scripting language, so it is a scripted way. Now when I press, the command is completed. Now when I press enter, it is asking me the password. So the password for the administrator of the nano server, remember this is the nano server administrator, so whatever the password you will mention here, this is the password to connect the nano server or log into the nano server. Okay, we got an error here about what? It is about the packages. Okay, it is about the packages. Actually I don't have to give the absolute path for the packages. It is going to take the packages from D nano server packages directory automatically, but I have given the absolute path, so it is showing me the two paths here. So I don't have to give the absolute path. I just have to mention the name of the package. So I just have to mention the name of the package, that I want to install this package. So I'm removing the path and I'm just mentioning the name of the package. And now it is started to create the image. Only problem was that you don't have to give the absolute path for the package. it is going to take the package from the deployment, this installation media automatically. We just have to mention the name of the package. It will take a little time and it will create a virtual disk. Then after that, what we can do, we can create a virtual machine, and that in that virtual machine we can use this hard disk, this VHD file, and when we boot that machine, it will be a nano server. So after doing this command, what it will do, it will create the virtual disk, and then what we can do, then we can create the virtual machine either from PowerShell command. This is the PowerShell command to create the virtual machine, or we can create it graphically from Hyper-V Manager. And then what, we use the virtual disk which we created in the previous step, and that the file VHDX, we will mention the file as a hard disk for this virtual machine, and then we will start the virtual machine. Now when we start the virtual machine, we have a nano server. Now after that, we want to configure the nano server. For configuring the nano server, first we have to go for the firewall and enable the firewall rules so that we can connect the nano server. And to connect the nano server from PowerShell remotely, what we will do, first we will configure the IP addresses in nano server, and then we will go to the remote server and configure the trusted host for the nano server, and then we can connect by using the Windows Share PowerShell remoting. Let's see it is installed or not. And it is still installing, it is still creating, it will take a little time. Now it is installing the package which we have selected, nano server IIS package. And now it is done, and it is saying that the log is available under this location with this name. So if you want to see the logs, then you can check the logs that what happened to this. Now what happened, it has actually created this image here. If you can see, this is the virtual disk it has created as a name of Nano 1. Now we can use this virtual disk. The size of the virtual disk only 512 MB. Now we can use this virtual disk and create a virtual machine. So I will go to now Hyper-V Manager. And now I will create a virtual machine here. Now first, before creating the virtual machine, you have to make sure that the virtual switch is already there. And actually the virtual switch is already created because I have created at the time of installation. I can check in this virtual switch manager, and I can see there is a virtual switch already there with this name, and this is the external switch, so that this virtual machine can communicate to other machines, other real machines also, or physical or other machines. So I'm okay with it. I will go to new. I will go to new virtual machine. This is the wizard to create the new virtual machine. I will say next. Name of the virtual machine will be Nano. Now where you want to keep the virtual machine, so default location we have already changed. It is under the CVMs VMCs, so I don't want to change it again. If you want to change it again, then you can select this and change it, but I don't want to change it because I have already changed it. Next. Now you want to create generation 1 or generation 2. Generation 1 will be supported in the previous versions also, previous versions of Hyper-V, and generation 2 will only support it in the latest version, in the latest version of virtual machines, Hyper-V. So once you created this, you cannot change the version. So you have to decide like where you want to use this virtual machine. You can use it only on these 2016 server, or you want to use it from the old versions of all versions of Hyper-V, like in Windows Server 2008. I can go with this generation 2. Now this is for the RAM, how much RAM you want. So RAM is not much required here for this virtual machine, this nano server. I can go for 512 MB RAM. I can go for the dynamic RAM. That means it will increase the RAM when it is required dynamically, and it can go minimum 32 to maximum this number of MB RAM. Now next, now to connect it to the virtual switch, so we have already created. I select that virtual switch. Now here is important thing. It is saying that create a new virtual disk, but I don't want to create because already I have created the virtual disk for it. So I will select use an existing virtual disk, and then I will browse and select that nano virtual disk. This is the disk which we have just created with the PowerShell command. So I select this and I select what existing virtual disk. So I don't need to install it again. It is already installed with Nano Server and already installed with the packages. So this is what we have selected and finish. And now it is going to create the virtual machine. And here is our Nano Server virtual machine. Now I will select the machine and I will start this machine first. Now it is starting here, and we can see the screenshot here. We can see the screenshot here. Now if we want to see, if you want to manage it, so we will do what? We will connect it. We will select connect here, and now we can see the window here where we can manage it. And this is our Nano Server interface. Now you see it is saying username, password and domain name. Now right now when we configure the Nano Server, we mention the name for the user is the administrator, and also we mention the password for the administrator also at the time of creating that virtual disk. So that password we will give here. Domain, right now we don't have any domain, so I will not mention any domain and I will press enter. And this is our Nano Server interface. And you can see, I will make it full screen. Now you can see what it is showing here. It is showing the computer name, it is showing the username, it is showing that the machine is in the work group, this is the operating system, this is the date, and this is the time last login. Now what configuration we have here? Nothing. We have only the option to configure the networking, we have only the option to configure the inbound and outbound firewall, and we have only option to configure the Windows remote management. Everything what we do on this Nano Server will be managed remotely. Now first go to networking. This is the interface, we have only one, and then you can see the IP address here right now. Right now the IP address is coming from DHCP, so we don't want DHCP IP address. So what we want to configure the manual IP address. Now for configuring the manual IP address, you have options here in the bottom. It says scroll down and up. We use scroll up and down command to scroll, escape to go back, and F4 to toggle, and F10 to routing table, and F11 for IPv4 setting, F12 for IPv6 setting. I want to configure IPv4, so I will press F11. Now it is saying by default it is on DHCP enable, so you want to remove it. So what it says, press F4 for toggle, escape for cancel, and enter to save. So for toggling it, I will press F4, and now this becomes disabled. Now I will press tab and go to IP address section, and I will give the IP address 16.0.0.20. Subnet mask of class A. Gateway I don't have, so I will press enter to save. Now it is saved. Enter. Now press enter or escape to continue. So this is what IP address I have configured here. Now I don't want to configure anything else, so I will press escape to go back. Escape to go back. Now what? I should configure the firewall so that I can connect this server. So I will go to inbound. Outbound is always enabled. I will go to inbound traffic. So inbound traffic, I want to enable this file and printer sharing so that I can connect this server and can check this server. So file and printer sharing, all these file and printer sharing settings, I will enable it. So I will go to first this one, and by default what? It says here is code for to toggle to enable or disable. Right now it is what? It is enable. No. So I will toggle it and I will say enable, yes, then escape. Then I will go to next one. It is also not enabled, so I will press F4 to make it yes. Go back. This one again, F4, yes, go back, escape. Then this one, F4, escape. 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 So I enable the firewalls, and now I will press escape to go out. Now outbound traffic we don't have to configure, it is already enabled. Now Windows Remote Management is also enabled, we don't have to configure it. If you go there, it says that it is already configured, you just want to reset. If suppose you have made some changes which is not suitable or something went wrong, then you can do reset here. There is no option settings here, we can only do the reset. When you confirm it, it will reset the whole remote management setting. So it is already configured, so I don't have to do anything. I will go back, and this is what only thing you can configure on this nano server. Now we can go to the remote server and we can connect this nano server through the PowerShell, and then we can manage this from PowerShell. So nano server is now running. I will go to this server here. I will open the PowerShell and I will try to connect that nano server from here. I will run it as an administrator, and then first I will do what? I will try to check by using ping command. I will check that whether the nano server is connected or not, and we can see the reply is coming. That means the nano server is now running and connected. Now what I will do, I will first add it into the trusted list, and then I will do the PowerShell remoting. Set item, WSMan. So I am adding it into the trusted host list and say yes. I mentioned the nano server IP, and now it is into the trusted host list here. And now what I will do, I will go for enter PowerShell session with the computer name. And for the computer name, what I will do, I will mention this IP address instead of the name. I can give the IP address of that system. And then for the credentials, I will mention the username from that server, that is administrator. And then when I press enter, it is asking the password for the nano server administrator. I will provide the password. And we will get the PowerShell terminal of that nano server. And now we are getting the PowerShell terminal of that nano server, and we can access the nano server now. Right now we are under the nano server. We can verify by getting the name. and it is saying this name. Now this name is the system name, so we can change the name also if we want. We can change the name for the nano server. We can change it from the PowerShell command. Now once you get the PowerShell of the nano server, then you can run whatever command you want to run. But what you should do after installing the nano server, post installation configuration settings for the nano server or any server is what? These are the post installation configurations. So what we did, we configure the IP addresses, we set the computer name, and then we should join an Active Directory domain. Now join an Active Directory domain, before this we have to create the Active Directory, configure the time zone, enable the automatic update, add roles and features, then enable the remote desktop feature and configure Windows Server firewall settings. So these settings, these things we have to do after the installation of core server or nano server or even a desktop server also. But for this we have did the configuration of IP address, we have configured the name. For time zone, we need, if we need, then we can configure automatically update is enabled. We see how we can add the roles and features, we have already seen, and enabling the remote desktop if it is required to manage it from the remote desktop graphically, then we can enable it. We have seen that how we can enable that, and configure the Windows firewall setting also. So we have seen how we can setting the we can configure the firewall also. Only we have not done the joining this to Active Directory. Now why we did not did this? Because we have not configured any Active Directory till now. So if we have any Active Directory domain configured, then we can join our server into that Active Directory domain also. So this is how we can install these servers. We can install the nano server and configure the nano server, and then we can connect the nano server for remotely, and then we can manage the nano server remotely. Nano servers can only be managed by the remotely. We cannot manage them directly. We can only manage them remotely.